line there. Let's hop into Gettysburg. Are you at the start?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and play. So while we're just watching the very initial early game, also in that same line of thinking, the Ultralisk has lost 1 armor point. Bio is a lot more effective against Ultralisks now. What are your thoughts? Do you think teching towards Ultralisks is still strong, or do you think it's much weaker now?
It's a hard question. I mean, I still like Ultralisks. Some Zergs are saying that, well, maybe you should go Broodlords instead, but I always liked mobility and stuff. So I still like Ultras, but they're definitely worse than before. That this 1 armor makes quite a big difference. But on the other hand, when they come out, they're not as useless as they were before. But I mean, like, Ultras without upgrades are so trash anyway. Like, you can deal with Bio anyway with Ultras without any upgrades. Yeah, but you can still go Ultras for people wondering. Like, it definitely didn't kill the unit.
Oops, sorry, I accidentally had myself muted there for just half a second for the stream, not for you. That's okay. So yeah, all right. So we are going to be going to Gettysburg now. Just going for a hatch gas pool once again. This map's kind of interesting, right? It's pretty defensive. I remember thinking this was kind of a Zerg-focused map in terms of being able to defend, but then players like Beyond and TY and these really top-level players did start to win a lot of games against Zerg on it. What were your thoughts going into here?
Well, against other Terrans, I would feel pretty confident. But I knew what TY is gonna play here. I saw his games against Su or like Zergs like that, and I knew his style, the way he was playing. So normally this map would be really good, and like against European Terrans or even beyond, I would probably feel pretty confident playing on this map because, as you said, it's very easy to defend and the drops are not as powerful as on other maps. But against TY, I knew it's not gonna be easy because he's playing mech. And maps like this are obviously good for mech because you can take like 6 bases and defend all of them in one spot.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, roaches are going to be the focus. I mean, roach ravages, your main focus anyway, and it happens to be really good against mech. So I kind of feel like you're one of the players who's pretty well prepared to face a mech player. Back on your point on why drops aren't as strong on this map as well, just to clarify for some of the newer viewers watching, just because there is only that one path between your bases, and it's actually got these movement blockers, which are going to slow down air units, and just the fact that so you've just got no dead space around the back of the base. So you've only really got the one angle to come in from, and Queen's units can easily zone them out. It's very easy to spot where the drops are coming from. And then for him to drop on the north side of the map takes so long to get over there. And once again, there's not much dead space behind the bases or anything like that.
Yeah, it's also like hard to surprise you with like the double medivac drop because there is really no place you can go and avoid the overlords. If you want to go at the top of the map, then it takes a long time, and if you want to go through the middle, then there's overlords. So Zerg is usually ready for this.
Nice. And you did say you knew how he would play here. Of course, he played in Casper Cup. Doing this like bio mine drop into like a tank. He's got this fast third CC into mech play. So specifically against this kind of older style of 6 Marines and a Widow mine drop, how would you recognize this if you weren't already expecting it? Is there some sort of tell from what you've seen so far that tells you that this is what's happening?
Well, you can't really tell it's mech until you see factories in his main or in his base. But basically, I actually played TY one time on ladder when I was in Korea. And I just thought to myself, actually we played on New Gettysburg. So I actually, and the game, went to the late game. So I basically knew all his stages of his build. So starting from the mine drop that you can see right now, which I think, yeah, I was quite ready for it.
Roaches
And
pop
then,
out just as it gets there.
He goes into the Viking and two tanks with medivacs. So basically, he did exactly as I expected him to play. And I prepared well, it wasn't really like a super crisp preparation, but I had an idea in my mind about how to kill him. Because he goes into mech quite late. As you can see right now, he's still producing marines, and there's only one factory making tanks. He produces some medivacs that might not be useful, let's say, in the big fight.
Yep.
And then he goes a lot of CCs really fast. Like, I think after he finishes his third base, he goes into fourth and maybe fifth. So I just thought, let's go and try an old style of ZvT against mech and try a Doom drop at some point. Because when I was watching his replays, it looked like he didn't have that many units at some point. But well, we will see what happens in the replay, so I'll tell you then.
I mean, I do feel like this is, like, when I first saw him play this exact same build in Kesper Cup, a lot of people were saying, oh, it looks like Bio, because he comes with the two medevacs of Marines. Previously, I don't think he brought the two tankivacs last time I saw him do it, but he did do it this time. But it doesn't really look like mech play yet, but because you were already well prepared for that, you definitely, weren't fooled at all. He just kind of trades off these Marines and tanks here. This is a pretty good attack from him, but I guess you're okay with this trade because you don't really lose any workers.
Well, it wasn't perfect, but it's hard to fight tankivacs at this stage in the game because, well, I don't really have that many units that can shoot up. Maybe I could have made more queens and take them all to the fight, but I was preparing an all-in, so why would you make queens when you want to all-in?
Yeah, exactly. You've actually only got 2 queens right now of 60 drones, so just going for that mass roach drop is the plan. Only single upgrades. Of course, I guess the armor upgrades aren't quite as important when you are going up against siege tanks and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was preparing. You can see that the overlords are already going to the middle of the map, but I expected him to be more defensive with the tankivacs, and he was up like in the front of my base all the time. And even now I thought, okay man, go back to your base, right? But he was microing them all the time in the middle of the map, so there was really no place for me to load the drop without him seeing it. And then the Viking comes also, so basically it fell apart a little bit even before it started, and now I take a lot of damage as well from the tanks. But you can see now his fourth CC is finishing, right? So the build looks pretty greedy. But yeah, now he spotted the overlords. And actually my plan worked out quite well. I was planning to attack at around 8 minutes. But when I came to his base, it was like, this looks like quite a lot of Hellbats and tanks. Yeah. So I feel, I don't think there was any way I could have killed this if I started dropping units.
Yeah, and that's kind of the perfect situation for that number of Hellbats, right? Like, if it's just tanks and Thors, you want to drop on top and just start killing everything, but as soon as you get, like, what's that, like 12 Hellbats or something, all clumped, and then he even pulls SCVs to buffer and repair, it's like, yeah, you're not going to break that. So, this must have felt pretty bad, right? I mean, because you said it yourself, you're going for an all-in, and you killed, like, a tank and 8 SCVs, so, I mean, what do you do from here? What's your game plan now?
Well, since he had a 4th base already done, now I'm running away against 3 tankivacs that I have no way of killing, and 3 Vikings as well. I was basically thinking that, well, the next push is probably gonna kill me because I don't even have a hive started, which I would probably have done already. Like, my hive would be finished if I played a standard anti-mech style right now. And now I'm just starting hive very soon after Infestation Pit finishes. I have no way of fighting tankivacs. And I know he already has a huge army in his base, which is gonna come across the map very soon. So it's like, okay, I can do my best, but there is no creep spread as well, which would be very useful against mech. So basically I'm thinking, okay, I lost, but again, it's similar to first map. It's like, I'm in a really terrible situation, but I'm gonna play it out and see what happens.
Yep. Of course, Roach Hydra Viper, the standard anti-mech, just going to be able to use abducts on everything, blinding clouds. So you're just trying to basically spread out some creep. You've got your 4-base saturation up, so you can, afford to build a lot of units. You're just going to basically try and get Vipers out, and then it's all about hit and run, right? Like go in, grab units, run away, and try to do that. But this here is actually a really good move with this Roach counterattack. Is this a desperation move because you knew you couldn't fight him front on?
Yeah, definitely. Like, how are gonna break 15 tanks in a good position? There was also no way I could have stopped him in the middle of the map because my army was too small and too weak. I mean, only roaches is not gonna stop a mech army. So well, yeah, now I'm running away the drones, and I guess I was a little bit lucky here as well, because he was maxed and his whole army was on my side of the map, so he actually had no way of defending the like 15 or 20 roaches that I sent to his base.
And that was a really nice main art of those drones, by the way. The way you shift queued those to completely avoid the mech army. You actually saved so many workers, which a lot of players would have lost in that situation. You start flanking as well, and you actually catch his SCVs coming across the map. And you just bought yourself so much time here. You still don't have Vipers out. You are doing massive damage. I mean, I guess you're still very afraid of this army, right? It's still very scary.
I mean, yeah, 11 Hydras and 20 Roaches is probably not gonna win against tanks like this. So I was pretty happy with the situation right now, actually. Like, I lost 2 bases, but I didn't really lose drones. Yeah. I killed a lot of SCVs, like he lost the armory as well, and basically I'm happy with anything that takes him from my side of the map. Because losing the bases is not that important when I can take 2 hatcheries immediately, right away, and I have so many, 70 drones still, so yeah, this was, I mean, I'm not sure, maybe if he attacked me right away, he would probably kill me actually, but he decided to go back, so worked out quite nicely.
Yeah, you bought yourself some nice time there. And of course, once Vipers get out, the more time you have, the more you can just constantly pick away at their army very efficiently, right? So even though, Roach Hydra on its own is not intimidating, now that you've got Vipers out, you know that if you can just kind of stabilize and just drag it out, like you'll be in a pretty good position. Are you afraid at all of him being more efficient in this sort of late game? Are you afraid of maybe Ravens eventually coming out? Or is that just so far away, especially since you've damaged his economy, that you don't care?
No, Ravens in that patch were not good in late game.
Yeah.
Maybe now I will be more afraid, but at that point, basically, all I was afraid of was the same thing that he played against me on ladder when I was in Korea. It's basically very, very standard, but you add mines as well.
Like range liberators and ghosts, or?
No, actually, yeah, at some point I guess yes, but mines, basically. I don't know, I have trouble fighting mines with Roach Hydra still, if they are connected with tanks and stuff.
Yeah, it
because
actually
there's too many things you need to take care of. Like, you need to have overseers, you need to have Vipers, maybe some infestors for Vikings or something like that.
Yeah.
But in this situation right now, I was like, okay, he's still in the transition stage and he lost too many CVs, it looks like. So when I got so many Vipers, I was already confident that I can win this game.
Alright, so yeah, just gonna keep picking away from those units. Question, do you use hold position micro when you are abducting units, especially Vikings or Liberators, into your Roach Hydra?
Sometimes yes, but it's actually very tricky. Like it feels like people are watching it on the stream and they're like, oh, just pull the units and well, it's so easy. You have Vipers and they're static and they can do anything. But well, even pulling tanks is not that easy. I mean, in this situation, maybe it wasn't that hard because he didn't have enough economy to stop me from pulling his units all the time.
He didn't have like the
Yeah.
Vikings above or
Yeah.
anything like that, right? Like he's only just
You can
getting
pull
above
Vikings
now.
as well, but in this situation I was ahead just in the economy. So even if I trade not in my favor, I'm still fine. So I'm just trying to trade all the time and push him, so he can take any more bases.
And you can afford to trade a bit cost inefficiently, so you're just going to keep rotating. I'm going to throw this on your camera while we watch everything from here. I notice your Vipers are in the same control group as your Roach Hydra, because you're a very manual controlling guy. You don't use a lot of control groups, do you? For you, it's usually control clicking units, or do you double click actually?
Well, I use different things all the time. I wish my mechanics in terms of what I'm doing late game would be more solid, but it gets better and better, I think. But yeah, like you don't really need it. I want to be efficient with my clicks as well. So basically, if I have 4 control groups and I have to click 4 control groups all the time to just move my army, well, it's a little bit silly, I believe. So having Vipers here on the same control group as Roach Hydra, and then having Vipers on a different control group when I need them, or when I need to pull them back maybe, I feel that like that's fine.
Yeah.
You just don't want to F2 into his turrets with your Vipers, basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing, is you are very good at pulling back those Vipers, whereas, yeah, like, for instance, Dark. Whenever I see Dark get to like a super late game situation, his Vipers always fly to their death once they use their spells.
I mean, I do mistakes like that all the time as well, but depends, like right now, you can see that I only need to control my army and Vipers.
Yep.
But when you get to the late game as Zerg, like people, I don't understand. Like people are always saying it's very easy to play late game as Zerg, but actually, like if you have to control the queens, infestors, vipers, and they all need to be on separate control groups, and then you need your army as well. So then, trying to tell your brain, like what hotkey to click and what to do with each hotkey is super hard.
It's actually insane, yeah. It gets crazy when you've got so many spellcasters, and like, I feel like in late HOTS, that's why it was such an art form to like land the fungal blinding cloud combo, stupid swarm host shit that everyone was like, this is so dumb, but in ZvP where people would just defend with like this weird like ultra brood lord like army with fungal viper, actually landing the spells together without like getting all your shit feedback was incredibly hard. It's very demanding. So yeah, so we are going to keep watching these sort of engagements for a while. You're just kind of picking away at him. If we see anything, feel free to talk about it in the game. Anything really cool. I mean, we just see a Nidus Worm right now, actually. So I guess your idea here is just to pull him apart, right? Just keep coming from angles where he can't possibly be ready for everything.
I mean, like, StarCraft is a hard game because there is literally no way that you can play out all the scenarios in your practice games. So, even though I'm doing well right now, I was thinking all the time, like, come on, I'm picking so many units away, I have so many bases, and you were starving on, like, barely 4, right? So I was like, okay, maybe the units will run out at some point, but yeah, I decided that, if I can't really break him and he's gonna set up his ideal MECH scenario, he's probably gonna be more, confident playing it than me, because, well, I didn't play that many MECH games anyway. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna try some Nidus as well, because I know that he's still not max, and he still doesn't have ideal army composition, so pulling away in 2 positions would be sick as well. So basically what I'm doing right now is just try to exchange some units and keep him on 4 bases, which I did very successfully until now. You can see that the 4 bases that he had when we base traded are the 4 bases that he has right now. So for all this time, it was like 7 minutes or something, he's on the same 4 bases all the time. I should be faster with clearing the island expansion, but I'm gonna do that at some point, I believe. So I think this game was fine by me.
Yeah, it looks pretty damn good right now. We see you're now loading up a drop to go deal with that island expansion. It's incredibly hard for a mech player to defend that. Even if there's some turrets, if you just get a few roaches and hydras on the ground, the SCVs and mules can't fight that, especially not once you've got your 3-2 upgrades as you do at this point. And you just keep coming in from these angles. In the units lost tab, you know, you are a bit less efficient, but that's okay because you've got more bases, right? You're allowed to be less efficient because you're just mining from so many more fresh bases.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I knew that he's gonna die at some point, because you can see that he had no minerals anymore on the the first 4 bases. Now he just took 1 additional base, but he's already running out of resources.
So let's talk.
Yeah.
Do you think this game would look similar? I mean, okay, so first of all, I notice you've used no blinding clouds this entire game. All abducts. This is personally the way I like to do it, but you know, you're a much stronger player than me. So, do you think the blinding cloud nerf is really going to change a lot against mech, or for you, does it not really matter since you're so focused on abduct?
I mean, it changes a little bit, but I use the blinding cloud very rarely against all the races. Actually, maybe like it might have the biggest change in ZvT because of the like lurker plays and stuff in the late game, where you try to use blinding cloud when you attack. But I don't think it's such a big deal. On the other hand, I don't think it needed to be nerfed as well. Because like, I believe that, for example, that High Templar is a much stronger spellcaster than Viper. And Viper is like, sometimes it's very good, but sometimes you can just waste so many Vipers for nothing as well.
I don't mind the change personally, because I feel like 6 seconds is still an eternity in a big battle. Like, I feel like if you get like 4 siege tanks with a blinding cloud for 6 seconds and they can't shoot, it's still pretty good. But I definitely hear where you're coming from. So that's interesting. Now, of course, the tanks do a lot more damage now as well. So not only is it the Vipers changed slightly, but what if these were the new siege tanks? I mean, with this style of mech, you don't really see the siege tanks get moved around by medevacs that much, except at the start of the game, right? So, I guess we do see him, as I say that, he's actually maneuvering a lot. He's actually built a lot of medevacs. But yeah, do you think this is going to be much harder to poke in with Roach Hydra because every tank shot you take will do more damage? Or do you think it's still probably the exact same response from Zerg? In that you just go in, pick off some units, pull out, go in, pick off some units? Or do you think the tanks are actually strong enough now that it might be a bit more viable to play this out against Vipers?
Yeah, I think it might be harder to play out, but without tank evacs, I'm not sure if going like straight to mech is the easiest thing for Terrans. Because tank evacs were super powerful, and if they just give up so much like timings in the mid game, then maybe like you can still out economy them, if you can say so. Yeah, now you can see that actually I had a lot of problems with the mines, because like the Overseer died and basically the mines are still there and they killed a lot. So I had problems fighting mines as well against TY.
We do have a good question here from Swarmlord. Steven, he says, guys, Nerchio, you're constantly abducting the Vikings. So far, I haven't seen you use Parasitic Bomb even when the Vikings were clumped up. Why is this?
Yeah, I think Parasitic Bomb is really bad. After the nerf, I think it had more damage, right?
Yeah, it used to do 90 damage, now it does 60 damage over the 7-second duration.
So, oh yeah, so against Vikings, I believe you're right. Maybe against Vikings you can use it sometimes, but again, usually go for the reliable things, and I think more reliable is just pulling all the time.
Yeah.
But you're right that sometimes if they have a lot of Vikings, it's probably better to use the Parasitic one. But I think he had maybe no more than 10 at all times. So against 10 Vikings, it's probably better to pull.
I would say that's actually a really good way to think about it. Is like there's this certain point where it's like, well, even if he splits pretty well, you're going to damage like 15 Vikings or something. There's heaps of air units. It's worth dropping a few Parasitic Bombs. But there's a few other things to add in there, just a bit of trivia. So Parasitic Bomb only has 8 range, whereas Abduct has 9 range. So Abduct, you can cast it from further away. Your Vipers aren't going to have to go as deep. And even that 1 range difference usually does mean 1 or 2 extra dead Vipers if there's a bunch of Vikings in the air, right? Also, you are going to find that... excuse me, sorry. Yeah, so basically it also costs 125 energy for a Parasitic Bomb, right? So you use it, and then if you weren't maxed out on energy, you can't do anything with that Viper for the rest of that battle. Whereas Abduct, you can cast 2 Abducts in a battle if you've only got 150 energy. So it's a much more flexible spell, especially in all those small skirmishes and engagements.
Actually, like the Parasitic Bomb, as I said, works only in the big numbers. Because like if you imagine like 1 Abduct always kills 1 Viking, basically, right?
Yeah.
If I pull him into my Hydras. But I can cast maybe even 3 Parasitic Bombs and kill nothing if he reacts properly. Yeah, when there's more Vikings and more Parasitic Bombs, then maybe you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Then maybe you can kill the Sky Army in a few seconds, but otherwise you might spend a lot of energy for nothing.
Exactly. All right, so we've got another... Let's hop out into the next game, actually, while we answer some more questions, since the next one's a pretty epic game as well. So GG, well played in this one. Good comeback after the big Roach drop didn't work out. Very nice Roach counterattack. So, Nicotin... I don't know how to say that. Nicotin Tufel says, why is it that Nerchio has so few queens at his bases? Is lava in the late game not a limiting factor? Thanks.
No, it's. I mean, I'm not sure how many queens I had there, but I still had like 6 hatcheries or something, so it's probably enough to replenish your units all the time. Like you probably need a lot of larva if you go for the big fights and not the style that I played on this map. Yeah, if you lose a lot of units at once, then you probably need a lot of larva to get all of them back. But if you play and pull all the time and you lose like 3 Hydras and 1 Viper per attack, then you can probably get away with not having queens even.
Awesome. Of course, if you're massing Zerglings, it's completely different, but great answer there. So let's dive into map number 3. Have you got it ready?
Yep.
Okay, guys.